Good evening, Mr. Ibanez. Just take a seat right there. Let's hear what pitch you have for us.
Big monkey hit big lizard.
My God, he's a genius!
Only pitch needed. Hope you guys like the shave. I certainly look and feel 16 again. In honor of entertainment that reminds me of how awesome my childhood was, Godzilla vs. Kong. Going back to my history with the MonsterVerse, I suppose the biggest nostalgia I have with Godzilla in particular is playing as him in the PS2 games where you just beat each other up as a bunch of characters. Basically one of the earliest fighting games I've ever played. Hence why I know a good amount of the monster selection within the MonsterVerse, you could say. So rewatching all of the MonsterVerse movies prior to this one, obviously the contender of Flash over Substance prevails here. Everybody's just going to want to watch these movies just for the monster action. Do you come here expecting deep themes, compelling characters, compelling commentary on how we are destroying our world? Not really. I'm sure like most people, if you're normal, you are here to just watch big monkey fight big lizard. That is all you want. And this movie certainly delivers on that, but it certainly has other things going for it that I'm sure most people would not care to rewatch. And that goes the same for me, basically. Upon rewatching the MonsterVerse movies, rewatching Godzilla from 2014, I never saw it when it first came out. I remember the main critique was that you barely even saw the monsters in it. It was mostly about the human characters. Upon rewatching it, I can actually appreciate the approach the filmmakers took in that not only was it about just basic humans dealing with big monsters, it was actually seen as like a documentary, almost like a viewpoint, as if kind of like Cloverfield, where we only have the perspective of the humans. Therefore it seems like a complete apocalyptic movie where it's more so about how horrifying and how terrifying it must be to be a human experiencing these monsters coming to life and just rampaging through the world. So I can understand the approach the filmmakers took with that, but I also understand the people who just wanted to go see Godzilla be Godzilla, the main character, Godzilla be the main protagonist who goes through his own arcs and his own character development. I'm just joking, but even just seeing him for a certain amount of time certainly put off a lot of audience members. Now, with Kong Skull Island, I never saw. Again, I never saw any of these. I didn't see any of these in theaters when they came out. I don't know if it was just because I was disinterested. Mostly because I guess I just knew that it's really just fast food, as the snobs say, or it's just like a popcorn flick where you're just there to just see action, then just walk out and forget about it. Moving on with Kong Skull Island, I thought it was just a very neat choice to incorporate the Vietnam War into this MonsterVerse, where we just have a big thick monkey just rampaging all around. You come out of it not really remembering the characters, but you know, action's cool. Watching big monkey hit things is cool. Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think they certainly overcompensated with the feedback they were getting with there not being enough action, because by the end of the day, you're seeing mostly action, but there's no rhyme or reason for most of it. There's a big reason why studios and writers write human characters into it, because if you have just constantly monster beating on monster, it's certainly going to get old to watch very quickly. Therefore, they have to balance it out with something else. I understand the approach. Whenever there were human character plots, though, thankfully, it didn't take up too much. Maybe just a little bit over half, but I am sure for most people, that's going to be way too much to their liking. But again, I personally understand why the writers have to do this. If there's no established stakes or motivations, therefore, we, the audience, are going to be way more disconnected with the fights that are happening. By the end of the day, though, as long as we got to go back to big monkey and big lizard play, then we were good. It's certainly a tough formula to balance. Which one strikes a good balance? That's certainly up to preference. By the end of the day, I still appreciate the amount of action that is found in these movies, and the visuals are absolutely a marvel to behold in all these movies. The technological advancement in computer graphic effects is certainly terrifying, that's for sure. So knowing the lead up of movies that we have prior to this one, now we have the ultimate Titan versus Titan, Seth Rogen versus Jack Black. Who will be triumphant? Obviously, because Seth Rogen is confirmed to be playing Donkey Kong in the upcoming Mario movie, as is Jack Black playing Bowser, who is a big reptilian turtle monster, may as well be Godzilla. I think the team certainly struck a good balance with the humans and monster interactions in this. Not perfect, nor not great, but good enough for me to certainly just enjoy my time for most of the movie and to just anticipate each monster fight, with a good amount of admittedly boring or just silly human interaction stuff and human subplots that are supposed to drive the story forward, of course. It filled me with childlike glee to see these two icons battle toe-to-toe on the big screen, certainly. I didn't watch it on the big screen, I watched it on HBO Max. HBO Max, give me money, please. Whenever there were no boring humans in the focus, it was just awesome to see these monsters fight it out. I don't think anybody can deny that the fight scenes in this were awesome. It essentially just captures how I had imagined back when I had little action figures and stuff, how I would imagine this is basically how it would look when I would imagine them fighting, essentially. So for them to bring that to life on the big screen, the sheer creativity of it is certainly admirable. Also, a very minor detail that I notice is that, especially in the action sequences, even though, yes, I acknowledge that the camera work and mostly what we see in frame is completely computer generated, it's so interesting to see them incorporate actual camera techniques that you would see in practical movie sets. Especially when it comes to them fighting, the camera sort of moves and interacts as if there is an actual camera there, as if these are big, humongous props or big, humongous puppets, just like they did it in the original olden days of these monster movies. There are small detail moments where I noticed, oh wow, they actually went the extra mile to make that camera movement or that camera shot look as though they really did have an actual camera there on location, when obviously they didn't. I certainly appreciate the cinematographer and the cinematographer's whole team there for making that possible. Little tidbit moments where we personify these big beast monsters to show just how much more intelligent they actually are than pop culture has made them out to be. They're not just rampaging beasts. They're not the most deep characters in cinema, but they certainly have so much more smarts and sass to them, and we certainly saw that here a lot, which was a joy to behold. The soundtrack is bombastic, so much brass, so much build up, so much just... I very much am team Big Lizard. I would say Bowser definitely had the most wins and delivered the most fatal blows. In line of superhero movies nowadays where we have them team up at the end, I was nowhere near surprised when it came to them teaming up to fight a bigger threat. That's what I was anticipating back when I saw the very first trailer. But to my surprise, I was not expecting them to pull out Mechagodzilla. The reveal of Mechagodzilla coming out... He came out. The reveal of Mechagodzilla had me so giddy and just squealing in the inside. Mechagodzilla was certainly one of my favorites to play as in the PS2 game, so I was beyond excited and enthralled that he would be the big baddie for King Kong and Godzilla to take down together. Upon rewatch though, these human segments are certainly bogged the pacing down for sure. If they're not doing anything that's simply forgettable or boring, they are doing something that is so silly just to sort of drive home the threat of Mechagodzilla and to build up the idea of a Mechagodzilla with a conspiracy theorist podcaster, which is pretty relevant today, I would say. And of course, evil CEOs that have no regard for their workplace or their employees and just want to make a profit, of course.
Wonder where I've heard that before.
Yeah, just seeing the cookie cutter protagonists do basic evil stuff, for them to die in pretty, I gotta say, they do die in some pretty spectacular and satisfying fashions. Certainly reeks of Saturday morning cartoon content there. But again, some of that kind of adds to the ridiculous factor of it. But I think the movie overall delivered so much for me, and it certainly offered me so much entertainment and so much excitement to watch. So, very fun overall. 8 out of 10. It's Seth Rogen against Jack Black. What else do you need? Very much excited to see where this MonsterVerse heads after this one. I think it'd be so cool to see sort of a prequel where we see Kong's species as well as Zilla's species in their prime in the Center Earth world pre-extinction. I think it'd be really cool to see them duke it out in just some big giant war flick with big lizards fighting big monsters.